behind the scenes at SKOR North and 1500 ESPN have sports opinions. So they want you to hear them. It's the perfect digital sports soapbox to scratch that Minnesota sports itch. This is the SKOR North Taxi Squad.
How much tush could a tush push if a tush push could push tush? Well, I don't really have the answer to that, and I don't think the Minnesota Vikings do either if you're lining Brandon Powell up in the backfield. Welcome into the SKOR North Taxi Squad, everyone. Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. My name is Jason Stormer, joined along with Artis Woods and AJ Fredrickson. Gentlemen, the Minnesota Vikings, not so much of a good result out in the Queen City of Cincinnati. They lose in overtime 27-24 to the Bengals, and some questionable calls in that game as well. Those tush pushes, I don't really know how to explain them. I don't know. But like I said, it's almost Christmas. I hope everybody's in the spirit of the holidays. How about you guys? How you feeling? Hopefully the Vikings didn't act like the Grinch and ruin your Christmas. Hopefully not.
We're not going to just blaze past that opening that you just did. We're not going to act like that just didn't happen. We're not going to turn a blind eye. How many times did you practice that? When did you think about that? That was flawless, but also what? What did I just hear?
Brilliant.
The graphic goes away, and all of a sudden, Dr. Seuss is on the show. What is happening?
Thank you. I did mention the Grinch. Yeah, a couple times in the shower before I came on in here. Definitely, I don't remember when I thought of it. I don't know because obviously that's a play off the how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Right.
I said that to myself randomly today. I think after I took Jeff Diamond's phone call to prepare for a show tomorrow, and all of a sudden, just the tush push got stuck in my head, and just how much tush could a tush push? Push.
We don't need a second.
Push.
We don't need a second.
Yeah. Sorry, I ruined. I shouldn't have said it again. I don't know. I don't know. Thank you. Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Great intro, as AJ just said. Doing good. Obviously, got to get into that. I don't even know. I mean, entertaining game, but hard to stomach game for the Minnesota Vikings. That's for sure. But otherwise, man, it's holidays, man. We inching up on Christmas. We inching up on the New Year's. It's hard to not feel good around this time of the year.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting in that festive feeling mood. It's right around the corner. We're within a week now. No snow. That's kind of a bummer, but also that's also fine with me. There's a lot of outweighing factors on that, and scientific reasons that we don't need to talk about on this show. That also I'm too dumb to understand and comprehend. So
you're not alone.
Same. Yeah. No.
There's an ozone. Don't know what that means, but I know there's an ozone.
I'm sure Claire's somewhere around here and she could explain all this stuff to us, but maybe for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good time of the week, good time of the year. Everybody seems to have a little bit of a pep in their step, a little bit of that holiday cheer, which is absolutely needed after what a fourth quarter we saw from the Vikings this past weekend. Just terrible. That was the equivalent of the Grinch stealing some sort of Christmas. You have a win in the bag, and then all of a sudden, a Joe Burrow-less, a Jamar Chase-less Bengals team storms back to you. So, just an interesting time. Interesting times.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we got a little bit of coal in the stocking from the Minnesota Vikings this year, which, I mean, you know what? They could redeem themselves and win on Christmas Eve against the Detroit Lions. So I guess we have potentially that to look forward to. Plenty of redemption for the Minnesota Vikings to be had. But yeah, guys, this game was really disappointing because the Vikings had this game. They had a big fourth quarter lead, and the defense just, at that point, again, was pitching a touchdown shutout. They had already given up 3 points, but still the defense was rolling. Then all of a sudden, Jake Browning and that offense just seemed to unleash themselves and stuff like that. T. Higgins with just that insane touchdown catch and just the mindset or just the awareness to reach forward for that touchdown as he was going down was just absolutely incredible. But still, guys, there were some just very, very, very interesting play calls in this game. Obviously, the tush pushes were just complete failures. Let's just not sugarcoat what they were. What were your guys' reactions to that? I mean, considering the day that Ty Chandler was having, don't you think the Vikings should have at least maybe handed the ball to him in that situation? Or do you think no, this is actually the right play? We've seen this phenomenon in the NFL, starting with the Eagles with the brotherly shove, and now everybody else is trying to replicate it. Did the Vikings do the right thing, or did they try to stretch it a little too thin considering they're on their fourth starting quarterback trying to do this?
I have a couple thoughts about this game. Number one, my first thought goes right back to what you said earlier before I get to the tush-push situation. That defense, who was playing lights out for the most part the entire game, up to the fourth quarter and overtime, they gave up 3 points. In the fourth quarter and overtime, they gave up, 24 points?
Yeah.
24 points in the fourth quarter and overtime against Jake Browning is unacceptable for a defense that we have raved about time and time. This defense is playing lights out. It's playing so great. 24 points in the fourth quarter and overtime to Jake Browning? You got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. These guys, for the most part, running wide open in the middle of the field, especially T. Higgins. Middle of the field, just wide open. It's like, when are you going to make an adjustment to shut down the middle of the field? That is what they're attacking. As a matter of fact, it's kind of what they consistently tried to attack the entire game, and they continued it in the fourth quarter, and it started to really pay off. Another play, you brought up the T. Higgins play where he caught the ball and extended to the end zone. This happened in, the Broncos game. Attack the football while it's it's like you're waiting for the ball to touch the receiver's hands to then make a play. That's not always the right play to make unless you have a clear angle where you could punch the ball right out of a receiver's hands. But on the other side of that, you got, I think it was Blackman, who's watching the entire play. Yep. He's just sitting back. Oh, this is about to be incomplete.
Hey, I'm here. I'm going to watch him over here as you try to make a game set. Get in there. Get in there and break it up.
Dude, literally, if he get it, maybe even if it's a delayed reaction, you see Higgins, at first you're thinking, oh, it's going to be incomplete. No way he's going to catch this, because it was kind of like a jump ball, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you're looking like, oh, man. Then he catches it. Oh, you need to jump into action, because they're clearly trying to get into the end zone. I'm sure you didn't expect him to do that random reach back. I mean, that was special. But if you're in the remote area, that's a fumble.
Yeah.
And that is the game. That's the game. Mm-hmm. And so there's that. And I don't want to take all what you guys have to say, but the whole tush-push situation, everybody can't run it. But I'm not mad at the fact that the Vikings ran it once. Mm-hmm. I'm mad at the fact that they ran it twice. Mm-hmm. It's 3rd and 1. If you know you're going to go for it on 4th, which I'm sure they knew, you got Justin Jefferson one-on-one on the outside. Why not throw him the football? There's not a corner in the league that can check Justin Jefferson one-on-one. Whether he's going on a fly, whether you hit him on a quick slant, why don't you give the best player on the team an opportunity to catch the football? Yes, I think they should have also given the ball to Ty Chandler, but I'm not mad at them not doing that. I'm mad at the fact that you had Justin Jefferson one-on-one on the outside with really no help, and you didn't decide, maybe we should audible and try to get it to Justin Jefferson. Maybe he makes a play, breaks the tackle, and has a touchdown. No, they go to tush-push twice in a row. There's a lot of different things that you could pull back from this game. I'm sure I'm leaving some things out that you guys are going to touch on. But for the last time, I'm not going to say this again. Jaren Hall needs to be the starting quarterback going forward. Now, he won't, Vikings fan. He won't. We all know he won't, because they've already announced Mullens is the guy. Don't know why. He made some plays. He made some terrible plays as well that I'm sure you're going to dive into. But there is no reason why Jaren Hall should not have at least the opportunity to go out there and make plays for the Minnesota Vikings going forward. He's not a guy that's turnover prone. He's a guy that's a bit more mobile. And now with Addison playing the way he's playing, and Justin Jefferson playing the way he's playing, the way this offense can move, Nick Mullens is going to do one of two things. Either he's going to throw a weird touchdown rolling to his right, throwing across his body, and somebody's going to miraculously come up with it, or it's going to be intercepted.
Mm-hmm. Yep. One of the two.
I don't know how you'd run that play twice in a row. The exact same thing. Like,
at least with Brandon Powell in the backfield, can we please put CJ Ham or Josh Oliver or one of our big tight ends back there to push? Not our smallest wide receiver.
Yeah. If you're doing that, I want to see. First off, how is there not like a trick play variation of this yet? Where
there are
instead of, and maybe I just haven't seen it then. But why are we not on this for the second attempt there? Like throwing to some receiver coming off the outside on just a quick slant route. I
don't know.
It's just so on that play. Also on that, like you have a guy who's shorter than me, and I think I'm the shortest one on the show here, shorter than me, about 130 pounds, sopping wet. He looks like Ty Chandler. He can run the ball. Don't get me wrong, but in that situation, I need a guy who's going to get up on Nick Mullens like it's the nightclub on New Year's Eve and there's no other women left available on the dance floor. He is the last single woman on the floor. All right. Get up on him and push him over the line.
Wow.
I
think we know what AJ's New Year's plans are.
I know that's graphic, but that's how bad they need those. They need that first down
Oh
there.
man,
that was funny.
There's a slight hesitation. I know he probably gave it his all, but what he offers there is not what you need. And you saw that on the first attempt. So why are you still allowing? Is TJ Hawkinson not able to be the guy back there that you put in motion? Honestly, is anybody? This is wild. But why not get Danielle Hunter out there for one offensive snap?
Sure,
somebody.
I don't care if they know it's
just
coming.
a big dude.
I don't care if they know. Nick Mullens is going to be Nick Mullens like jelly, push through the guys. If Danielle Hunter is pushing, then that's obviously not going to happen. People are going to come at me and be like, "That's what an idiotic take." Yeah, I'm going to admit it is. It's a terrible idea, but just as bad as having Ty Chandler push 2 times in a row. That's how bad of an idea that is. I'm just trying something else. I'm trying to be constructive here. I don't know how they do that. There's a bunch of other things that I would like to see them do. And I think up to this point, the whole point of why the tush push is so like controversial is that really Philadelphia is the only team that can do it successfully because, and say it with me, they have the strongest and most athletic combination of a quarterback in the entire National Football League.
Yeah.
Nick Mullens and Jalen Hurts, they're not the same guy.
No.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts, the guy. Nick Mullens, a jag. Just a guy. Not the same. Not the same. Tomato and tomato, not even close. We're comparing apples to much less talented and athletic oranges here. All right?
Yeah.
I don't understand how you do that. That like it. I want to love and I trust Kevin O'Connell, but when that is the call there, I don't understand. And I'm not saying by all means, I'm not in the camp of fire KOC. I'm not.
No,
ridiculous.
I can't believe that's happening.
I've been seeing a
We
lot
got
of
it.
that. That's ridiculous.
Maybe
it's foolish.
In the moment, I understand. And granted, I'm getting worked up
Yeah.
about it now. I understand the frustration. The guy won 13 games last year. Everybody.
Mm-hmm. And he's
Given
been winning without Kirk and
fourth starting quarterback.
Fourth quarterback. Didn't have the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL for how many weeks?
Like 8 weeks.
And he's still doing all right. Like, let's pump the brakes here. I'm gonna allow some mistakes at times. It just sucks that that mistake happened when it did and how much of a magnitude it had on the game. It's just so frustrating because I feel like he in that situation needs to realize you have other guys to go to.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to trust Nick Mullens to either throw a quick like dump off something short and get that like that should be something that you're able to do, or give the ball to Ty Chandler. 5.7 yards per carry on average. What are we doing here? He steps in a game. First off, you've been kind of throwing shade his way the entire season. Alexander Madison still don't understand especially after that performance, why he was getting the looks and the RB1 treatment that he was up until now. He misses the week. Ty Chandler steps in, seizes the moment. I said it last week. Have no fear. Ty Chandler is here. He gets in the end zone. Check one off for AJ. If it wasn't for that stupid play by T. Higgins, that Space Jam-esque play reaching across, guess what
NFL
the score would have been? 24-17. Check for AJ.
I know. I was thinking about that. I'm like, AJ's going to nail this. He's going to. And then T. Higgins said, nope.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I think the first thing there, if you run the ball with Ty Chandler and he gets stuffed and just doesn't pick up I can live with that.
Yeah,
I can live with that. But doing 2 tush pushes with a quarterback that is not really made for that, with a pusher that is not really made for that twice in a row, that's just, it leaves my jaw on the floor. I have no words to like sum up. And I know I just rambled, so that's I've
you had plenty of words, sir. I disagree with that statement.
In the time, I was left speechless, and I just couldn't understand or comprehend what the decision making was there. So that was an issue for me. Jason, what did you think about it?
Yeah, no, it's probably the most bonehead call and decision that Kevin O'Connell's probably made in his very short tenure as Minnesota Vikings head coach. It completely took all the momentum away, allowed Cincinnati to get a victory, and it just, look, I'm not confident doing a tush push with a healthy Kirk Cousins with an intact Achilles, much less Nick Mullens. You know what I mean? And I don't think the Vikings did a ton of tush pushes with Kirk. They would sneak one in every now and then, but not at any frequent rate or anything like that. And it just killed the momentum. But still, I mean, there were other plays by Nick Mullens that just had me scratching my head and definitely has me wondering, hey, maybe we should start Jaren Hall. I'm kind of in that camp more so than ever. I mean, he got so lucky with the first touchdown pass to Jordan Addison. Yep. He was getting sacked down. I mean, sure, the awareness is there for Mullens. Like, yeah, get rid of the ball. And he made the smart play, but he's just lucky that he's a really good receiver that was basically able to pick that ball right before it touched the ground and was able to take it in the end zone for the touchdown. The second touchdown pass, look, it was very Brett Favre-esque, and I respect players when they want to get a little when they want to gamble that way, but never, ever, 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 ever do that again, Nick Mullens. Did I say ever? Ever, please. It was just the luckiest play you could have possibly asked for. Better to be lucky than good in plenty of situations, but still, it just ultimately, yes, the conversations of Kevin O'Connell's job security really do need to calm down. Like, it's pretty insane to just kind of hear the rhetoric that's all over social media and stuff like that after two really boneheaded plays. But everybody just needs to just relax on that kind of bit and just understand that obviously nothing's going to happen, and it's probably just a symptom of recency bias more than anything else. But the problem is too, guys, is that now, I mean, our playoff odds just keep going further and further down. I mean, didn't we have like an 80% chance to make the playoffs at one point or something like that, or like high 70s or something like that? It seems like each week now, after kind of really the Broncos game, that percentage is just dipping by like 10% every single week. And now I think they're sitting here currently at 44% because some things went right for a couple NFC teams like the Rams, like the Seahawks. Thankfully, not the Packers, though. The Packers losing to the Buccaneers, which ultimately I think a lot of Vikings fans are going to be happy about. So as much as this definitely felt like just a huge gut punch of a loss for the Vikings, there's still reasons to be optimist if you're like really, if the goal is that you want to make the playoffs. I mean, Danielle Hunter had another awesome game. And I think, you know what, this defense was due for a little bit of regression. That touchdown streak wasn't going to maintain itself for too much longer. It's just, this is how the NFL works. Doesn't really matter if you're playing a backup quarterback or not. That's just that's just the law of averages. And so I'm not really surprised that the defense got, you know, I guess, torched by their standards probably over the last couple weeks. But it was still disappointing in the way that it was done, blowing that lead in the fourth quarter. And just ultimately, you know, we were concerned a little bit of how the corners were going to play against the Bengals. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but still, it was just disappointing to see when the game mattered the most in crunch time, things lightened up a ton for that defense. And now we're going into the Lions game, just kind of wondering, all right, the Lions seem to be rebounding a little bit. So we were kind of wondering, all right, is their defense, you know, going to be able to hang on for them because it's been pretty leaky? Well, they had a pretty good performance against the Denver Broncos, even though obviously the Broncos offense isn't, you know, lighting up the world or anything like that. So, but yeah, we're rolling with Nick Mullens, guys. We are. And frankly, I'm not surprised by this decision, but I think if the Vikings lose to the Lions, I think Jaren Hall will be starting against the Green Bay Packers. I really do. I think they'll finally see the light or whatever and finally decide that, all right, even if we back our way into the playoffs, if we lose to Detroit, then I just don't know organizationally how much hope they'll actually have. And honestly, I don't know if I'm expecting Nick Mullens to have a great performance. I mean, we talked about how we didn't really respect, besides Trey Hendrickson, too much of this Bengals defense. Well, they were able to get it done really against Nick Mullens, and now we got the Lions defense coming up, and I just don't know if Nick Mullens is going to be able to do much better against the Lions defense, because he's proved to me that it doesn't really matter how porous defense is. Nick Mullens might struggle against it no matter what. So, yeah, we're just, man, if the Lions clinch the NFC North at our stadium on Christmas Eve, that's going to be such a bummer.
Yeah.
That is going to be such a bummer. I mean, sure, the Lions haven't won the North since 1993, I'm pretty sure. And so, it's probably long overdue for that football team, but still, it's just not going to be a fun feeling for any Vikings fan that's, spending part of their Christmas at US Bank Stadium and potentially has to see the Vikings lose that game. But what are your guys' main concerns for the Vikings going up against the Lions? I mean, honestly, we have a chance now, gentlemen, to play the Lions 3 times in the next 4 weeks, which is just absolutely insane, because this whole time the Vikings and the Lions have been lined up in the playoff positioning. But, I mean, first of all, your reaction. I mean, do you think Nick Mullens can win a game for the Minnesota Vikings against the Detroit Lions? And do you think the Vikings will be able to pick back up their playoff momentum and finish strong here?
I think they can win. I think the Lions are a team that is very streaky. They're very hit or miss. We've seen them have some really good games and some really bad games. They really flourish when Jamar Gibbs is getting the football and he's playing really good football, running the ball effectively. So when the run game gets going, their offense gets going. And, Jared Goff is another guy that's extremely streaky. When he has it going, he has it going.
Yeah.
But when he's off, oh, boy, it's a long day. And so I look for the defense to rebound in this football game, which is why I do give them a shot in this game. Like I said, I still have a ton of respect for that defense. I do think they can go out there, they can make plays. They've shown me enough of that to believe that they are capable of slowing down an offense that's good, that is that good. I mean, we saw the Chicago Bears also slow that offense down twice. And so, I think the Vikings are capable. It's just a matter of offensively, is Nick Mullens going to give those guys the ball and give them short field opportunities to score touchdowns? Is he going to make their job easier, meaning the Detroit Lions, when it comes to putting up points? Because at that point, you don't want to give them too many opportunities, because even if Jared Goff is cold, the offense is still a really good offense. This is, I think, a top 5 offense in the NFL right now. So, you don't want to give them too many opportunities. If you're going into this game and you're Nick Mullens, your goal should be they don't lose this game because of me. I don't try to do too much and overextend myself like you said. Fall into the ground and trying to avoid a sack. So you just throw the ball into a defender's arms and it ends up, and I get it, you're trying to get rid of the ball. I understand.
They're taught to do that, but when the guy's right in your face.
But you know what that is? That's a rookie mistake.
By a veteran quarterback.
By a veteran quarterback. So you might as well put the rookie out there if the veteran is going to make rookie mistakes. It don't make sense. But back to my point. He has to go into this game with the mindset of, I'm going to make the plays that are there. I'm going to take what the defense gives me. I think we saw enough out of Ty Chandler that he should be getting most of the reps now. He should be touching the football, often, as much as possible, to try to keep the Lions offense off the field. And, I think if they're able to run the ball effectively and Nick Mullens isn't turning the ball over, but being smart with the ball, getting the ball to your playmakers, I don't think they have anybody to check Justin Jefferson, and I don't think they have anybody to check Jordan Addison. I'm not even sure they have anybody to check Hockenson running down the middle of the field. I think you're right there. But it's going to come down to playing smart football, not turning the ball over, and the defense has to respond. Now, you're in Minnesota, so I expect them to play a lot better than I would if this game was in Detroit. But it's in Minnesota, so you have a good opportunity here to come out and make a statement. I think if you lose this game, you for sure win the next. I don't think the Lions are good enough to beat the Vikings twice. I don't believe that. I'd be kind of shocked if that happens. So I think you at least split. But I think it starts with this one. You need a rebound game after what we just saw. I'm not going to give my prediction yet, but I think you need a rebound game against the Lions right here.
I remember, I think the first part of your question was, what makes me nervous? What makes me nervous about this weekend?
Mine is Nick Mullens. That's what makes me nervous.
I think that's unanimous, sir.
That's the obvious answer.
Mine is too, and solely because Aiden Hutchinson.
That was my second one.
Aiden Hutchinson makes me nervous because if you look at this past weekend, the PFF grades that came out regarding Nick Mullens, when he has time in the pocket, very good. When they have play action and he has time to let the play develop, pretty good. When he's pressured, when there's a frenzy, when he has to scramble, bad, bad, bad. Everything bad. Chaos is bad. Aiden Hutchinson is chaos in a bottle.
Yeah.
He's wearing Lions blue, just pure chaos. Aiden Hutchinson is going to tear it up this weekend. And given the injuries that are on the Vikings O-line, I don't know how many times you can hold that man off. He's going to get to Nick Mullens, not just once, not just twice. It's going to be a lot of pressure for Nick Mullens. He's going to see a lot of Hutchinson right in his grill, I think, all day long. And when Nick Mullens is going to have to avoid and flail out, if he gets away from him, I think a bad throw is going to be coming most of that time, if a throw even gets off. So that is the biggest thing that makes me nervous. I want to say in my heart of hearts that I think another week of Nick Mullens, getting the reps in at the facilities, getting some chemistry with JJ to possibly mesh now that he's fully back and all this stuff, and that's going to help. And then it's the same thing of what I expected last week, where you have Jordan Addison, you have TJ Hawkinson, you have Justin Jefferson, and now we've seen you have Ty Chandler, who, in my opinion, should stay RB1. The offense should be more than enough for him to succeed. If that's not the case, especially after this week, I'm with Artis once again. I think this is 2 weeks in a row now, Artis, you and I are going to say.
Yeah.
I want to see what Jaren Hall has. And I know, I know the reports are that they're not confident in him. How confident are you in Nick Mullens? And frankly, it can't be all that much, which makes me concerned because I'm not the facilitator. I don't see the practice. I don't have that coaching mind. So I understand that they're going to know leaps and bounds probably more than I do. Then how bad is Jaren Hall if you're not willing to back him?
He ain't that bad.
That's the thing. I don't think he is either, but I mean, we're not going to, as of right now, we're not going to get a chance to find out, unfortunately. So that's my biggest thing that makes me nervous is Aiden Hutchinson, that pass rush from the Lions. I don't think their defense is all worldly by any means, but I think given the circumstances and given how when the personal space bubble of Nick Mullens seems to be penetrated by outside forces, bad things happen. We knew that going into last week, and look what happens. He throws arguably the most comical interception I've ever seen in my lifetime. You were an inch away from having your butt on the ground, and you still threw that. The inch that you should have waited was the inch you threw into another man's face mask, and then he caught it. And then you're like, hey, I threw it forward. Yeah, that's why it's an interception, man.
I don't even know if he knew he was throwing the ball forwards on that play either. It's like he was just throwing the ball for the sake of throwing the ball. For all he knew, he was throwing it backwards, and somebody could have taken it to the house.
That have been flagged for, even if it was incomplete. Could you say that's intentional grounding too? Even
if it's thrown backwards, it's not. It's a fumble after that.
But I thought he threw it.
He did. But I'm just saying, I just don't know what his awareness level was in that moment, and he was just throwing the ball just because he didn't want to take the sack. When in that situation, you probably should have just taken the sack.
This might be. I'll use allegedly on this because I don't want to put any. I don't want to put any miss feelings on me. That's not a word, but allegedly. Sometimes allegedly while I'm driving, I'll have those moments where I allegedly black out. Like I'm driving and I'm cognizant, I'm rock, but then allegedly a few stoplights later, I allegedly think to myself, I don't remember the last mile. Allegedly. I don't know if anybody allegedly also has that happen to them.
I've allegedly gone through that too, where I know a friend who a friend who just driving on a road trip and just all of a sudden getting a deep thought, and then just you drive 5 miles and you don't even realize what happened.
Yeah, but allegedly. But that I think is the equivalent of what happened to Nick Mullens on that play, where he just blacked out and was like after he got up, he's like, "No, I tried to air that thing out."
Right? Yeah.
Right. What do you mean? What do you mean the guy 5 feet in front of me caught that? There's no shot that lineman picked me off. Yeah. So it just the quarterback position. I mean, we talked about this last week. We miss Kirk. We miss Kirk.
Yeah,
I know.
God, yes.
This season, yes.
And
Yes.
as still the personal bodyguard for all conversations regarding Kirk Cousins being traded, I haven't left my post.
Nope.
Yeah, Kirk, we do miss you.
No trade clause, baby.
No trade clause. He's not going anywhere.
Let me say this really quick, Jason.
Yeah,
Before you go,
yeah,
I want to
sure.
say this really quick.
Here's
You
what I
brought up,
Allegedly.
I don't how bad is the backup quarterback? How bad is that situation where they don't want to put him in the game, in place of Mullens? Why, how bad is Jaren Hall? And my response to it is this: he's not that bad. And I look at the Ty Chandler situation and the Alexander Madison situation. Why is Ty Chandler not getting touches? We saw flashes in preseason about what this guy could do.
And fumbles, and I think that's why. I think he needed to earn a lot of good graces in the locker room before they were going to give him a shot, which may have been a mistake in retrospect. May have been.
I get that, but the explosiveness is hard to deny.
Yes.
Like, he should have still been given opportunities within the offense to make plays. And in the moment he's put out there, he has a great game. Jake Browning, you cut him. What was the evaluation on Jake Browning?
Credit
Because
to him.
he's balling right now.
I
Well,
would
that
like,
was he was
I'd
a Rick
like-
Spielman pick, so it's just a
Yeah.
blank space. Nothing.
Okay, all right. I'm
Because he didn't know how to evaluate
that's where my
quarterbacks.
head goes, where it's like, I'm not going to question how they evaluate the talent, but it's like, when you think about those two, when I think about those two things, I look at those now, in hindsight, of course, as kind of misses. They're both kind of misses. You know what I mean? Like, Ty should have been getting carries earlier in the season. And, you could use a guy like Jake Browning right now.
The only reason we got rid of Browning was to keep Kellen Mond.
Oh, God.
How'd
makes
that
it even
work out?
worse.
I mean,
that makes it even worse.
And you think the hype is big with Jaren Hall right now? I remember the hype with Kellen Mond, man. People actually brought up conversations about how he could be a replacement for Kirk Cousins. I remember, who's the guy on PFT with Florio that used to be a starting, one of the McCowns, I think. One of the McCowns hyped him up a ton. Luke McCown, Josh McCown, one of the McCowns I think is on PFT or something, and was hyping up Kellen Mond as his best quarterback coming out of that draft class. I think Kellen is still on the practice squad with the Browns, hanging out with Kevin Stefanski. I don't know if that's for sure, but yeah. And Jake Browning totally. I mean, you guys saw the video. You looked right in the camera and said they shouldn't have cut me. He said another word too, but you know what I mean. And so it's just like, all right. Obviously, Jake had that on his mind the whole time during that game, but he's doing just fine in Cincinnati. Honestly, my biggest concerns, circling back really quick for this game, is all the guys that missed practice today. We're recording this on Wednesday, December 20th. Here's everybody who did not practice today: Danielle Hunter, Alexander Madison, Byron Murphy, Jalen Naylor, and Brian O'Neill. Now, the Madison stuff and the O'Neill stuff, I think, is a little bit expected. Both of them recovering from ankle injuries. I don't believe O'Neill has a decent chance of playing this weekend. I think there might be a slim chance that Madison plays, but in terms of my hopefulness for either of those guys, I'm not really sure I should be too hopeful about that. Daniel's is just an illness, though, so hopefully that's just a little stomach bug or something like that. That's not going to be a big deal. But like you guys brought up, Aiden Hutchinson, this is going to be the third straight week in a row now where the Vikings have to go up against an elite individual pass rusher. You had to do that against Max Crosby. You had to do that against Trey Hendrickson, and now you have to do that against Aiden Hutchinson. And if our offensive line isn't that healthy, that's going to worry me, even though I thought, honestly, guys, the protection for Nick Mullens wasn't all that bad. On Saturday, I thought it was going to be a lot worse, but I think David Quessenberry or Dan Quessenberry, one of those two guys, I can't remember which his first name is. I think Dan Quessenberry is an old MLB player, and this is David Quessenberry we're talking about. I think he filled in admirably. It was nice to get Ed Ingram back in there, but still, the longevity of that, I'm just, again, 3 straight weeks in a row of going up against an elite pass rusher. That really concerns me, especially when it's a division rival and you haven't played them yet, and there's extra incentive for all these guys. And I'm sure and I think Danielle Hunter just hit some kind of bonus, I believe, where he earned an extra $2 to $3 million. That happened either in the last week or the week before. Now you're in the point where a lot of players are trying to earn some money because the NFL doesn't have an in-season tournament like the NBA. You got to make these opportunities count. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a lot of game check money to be had in the NFL the next couple of weeks, and I think that's going to incentivize a lot of players. I mean, that's mostly for the players that have teams that are pretty much eliminated from playoff contention, and you can pretty much start anybody. Anyway, but some good news, though, on the injury front. Jordan Hicks looking like he's going to make his return from compartment syndrome, which is a very, very, very scary thing if you've ever had it. He's been on record saying that he almost lost his leg, which is crazy. He thought he initially just had a bruise. That's how those things start, but they just get worse and worse. And next thing you know, you got to go to the hospital. But he's doing good. And he's looking like he's going to be hopeful to play for the Vikings, which is definitely, losing him has probably been a very underrated storyline for this Vikings defense. They played so well that it doesn't seem like we're missing him too much, but getting more depth at that linebacker spot, I think is huge. I mean, you had to bring back Anthony Barr because Jordan Hicks got hurt. You know what I mean? So it's going to be good to get him healthy, but hopefully guys like Danielle Hunter are going to be okay. If it's just an illness, just a stomach bug or something like that, we should be okay. But I mean, in terms of other concerns, if Nick Mullens has even one turnover in the first half, I think I'm pulling him. I don't know. I guess it would have to depend on the turnover. If it goes right through somebody's hands, a la Kadarius Toney style, and into defenders' arms, okay, maybe we can have a conversation about that. But just like how short I think the leash probably should have been more so for Josh Dobbs against the Raiders, I think that hopefully should apply to Nick Mullens here. If it starts off really bad against the Lions, I mean, you got to make the move to Jaren Hall. I mean, again, if you're dead set on making the playoffs and you're not winning the ballgame with Nick Mullens as the quarterback, and arguably, I mean, you could have maybe even had the conversation about pulling him against the Bengals too. Could have. I kind of understand why you kept him in there. I don't know. It just ultimately didn't work out, but I can probably hear KOC's reasoning behind it or whatever. But it's just, man, I don't want to lose the NFC North on Christmas, guys. I just don't want to do it. It's going to be hard if that's the case. But should we get into our predictions here? Put our money where our mouth is.
Indeed.
Who won last week? Oh yeah, I did. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to sound braggadocious there. I'm totally sorry. I
forgot you did pick the Bengals last week.
I did pick the Bengals last week. AJ, so close to hitting a perfect score. Which have we done that before? I think one of us has been like a point or two off and picking the right team, but like 1 or 2 points off from the score. I don't think any of us has thrown an immaculate inning. We'll call it that or something like that. Hit a hole in one or something like that.
Perfect.
All right, Artis.
Stand football.
Right. All right, Artis, you usually lead us off, so go ahead. What do you think will be the result of this Detroit Lions versus Minnesota Vikings Christmas Eve jamboree?
And if you care, right now the line is set for -1 in favor of the Vikings with an over/under set at 46 points.
You said -1? I've got 3.5 on ESPN.
Sorry. It opened up at -1. Now it is -3 in favor of Detroit. Wow, that swung. Holy buckets.
Swing, better swing. All right, Artis, what's going to happen?
Oh, man. So Vegas is all in on Detroit for this matchup. I understand. I think after
you can pass if you want to.
No, because I'm gonna do something that goes against my real thought process. I'm gonna go against my head right now and go with my heart. I'm gonna pick the Vikings to win this game. The reason why I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game, because this is some of my head, not just all my heart. The reason why I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game is because I do not believe in the Detroit Lions. I just don't. Especially on the road in Minnesota. I've seen enough of them to know they just have these crazy peaks and crazy valleys that they go through as a football team on both sides of the ball. I believe in the Vikings defense, especially at home. And I believe that the Vikings can make things tough on Jared Goff, force him into some bad throws, some interceptions, and make plays defensively that makes it better and makes it easier for the offense to flourish. And offensively, I think this is a Ty Chandler game. I think you hand him the ball as much as possible. You keep, that offense of the Detroit Lions off the field. And whenever you need to make a big-time play, you got at least 2 and a possible in Hockenson, but really 2 guys, legit, on the outside who can go and make a play. One of them being the best in the NFL that they have no matchup for. So I think in this game, as long as they control the ball, control the time of possession, don't turn the ball over. I'm giving the Vikings this game with the score of, I'm going to say that defense does not give up more than 20 points. 24-20. No. Let me get...
You're like asking a kid what they want for Christmas. You keep changing your mind.
Let me get 16-21 Vikings.
Okay. 21-16. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. AJ.
I'm nervous about Nick Mullens. I'm nervous about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery. They've been a nice little tandem. I'm nervous about the fraud accusations that the Lions have had the past couple of weeks. I'm nervous that their raucous head coach is going to rally the troops, so to speak, and get them all juiced up, fired up on Christmas Eve, coming into town to face a hated rival, a team that's been down and Motor City's been kicked and pushed around for what feels like the past 2 decades. And now they have a football team. It's their division to lose. Am I nervous about that? You bet I am. But there's one thing that none of us have mentioned up until right now. The conditions. The Vikings are hosting for the second time ever a whiteout at US Bank Stadium. And if you remember, do you remember last year? Do you remember the whiteout last year?
Go.
Wait, was the whiteout that wasn't the Colts game, was it?
No.
It was the comeback win over Danny Dimes and those pesky Giants. Pesky Giants.
Yes. They turned out to be quite pesky later on, didn't they? Yes.
We don't like to talk.
They did. I know. Vikings fans forget that we beat the Giants last year.
So you might be sitting there watching this and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way this buffoon is going to let the jerseys and what the fans are wearing affect his pick for this Sunday. And that's where you're wrong. Because on any other day, on any other Sunday, I would say the Lions are going to come into town and they're going to steal one from the Vikings. They're going to win 28-14. And that team is going to head back to Motor City, head back to Detroit, Kid Rock's town, the town that Kid Rock built, so to speak, with a victory. But not this week, not today, not this Sunday. The Vikings will win 24-20. And you can bet that it will be a 2-touchdown day for Justin Jefferson.
Bet.
I like it.
Bet.
I'm not just you. I guarantee that. I guarantee a 2-touchdown day.
This is
Justin
beyond to write that down. This is a
guarantee.
Satisfaction guaranteed 10-year warranty thing.
He stayed off the score sheet last week.
He did.
There's no shot that happens again. He's making up for lost time. He's not going to just do it with the yards. He's getting into the end zone. 24-20 Vikings, 2 touchdowns for JJ, 1 for each of the J's. Jason, over to you for a third J.
Hey, I'm a J too. Notice what color shirt he's wearing, Artis. He's already ready. He's already ready to go. He's already at US Bank Stadium. It's Christmas Eve, baby.
I don't care that it's after Labor Day. I'm wearing white.
Won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Okay. The Detroit Lions win 26-23 to defeat the Minnesota Vikings.
I knew it, dude. I'm like, he's getting ready to crush it. I just knew it. I knew it. I saw it in his eyes.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Yeah, I'm just not too hopeful with Nick Mullens leading the charge here. If he made those mistakes against the Bengals, I just don't see how it's not possible to where he can't make those same mistakes against. I see Grant in the background of yard. Just tell him I say hi right there. He just kind of ducked in really quick.
Says hi.
Yeah, we're in the middle of recording, dude. Anyway, look, the Vikings are getting shredded by tight ends this season. They're allowing a rating of definitely of over 105, actually, I believe 105.3 or something. And this Sam Laporta kid has taken the memory of TJ Hawkinson out of Detroit Lions fans' minds. He is just an absolute beast, arguably, honestly, he might already be the best tight end in all of football. Travis Kelce has kind of come down a little bit this season. Hawkinson's great too, but Laporta is right up there, and I'm worried about that. Now, the running game, yes, it could be an issue just because you think automatically Montgomery, Gibbs. I mean, that's one of the best 1-2 punches in all the NFL. But I believe the Vikings defense runs per carry is in the threes or so, like a 3.6, I believe. And these two kind of like average just around that area as well. So ultimately, the Detroit running game as a whole with those two combined actually averages yard per carry, pretty much what the Vikings are already giving up. But yeah, I'm worried about this secondary. Byron Murphy had a really good game against the Bengals, but Caleb Evans, I think, struggled a little bit. Blackman struggled as well. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is just on a whole nother level. He's turned into just a top 5 receiver in the entire NFL.
Top 5?
Amon-Ra St. Brown, he might damn near be, man. He damn near might be. He's really, really good.
Came from the heart.
Man, I don't know if it's just because I'm in the NFC North and I got to watch this guy, or maybe I'm just being generous and it's Christmas, but like, I'm not even kidding. It might take one more year, but Amon-Ra might actually be a top 5 receiver in the NFL. He's really damn good, man. And he's got Jared Goff thrown to him. I mean, if he even had a better quarterback, could you imagine what that kid would be doing right now? I'm scared of him is what I am trying to say.
I get that.
Really?
Anyway.
You rattle off the top 5 just off the top of your head. I'm just curious at this point.
Tyreek, this season or like
currently in this moment?
Currently. Okay, Tyreek, obviously. AJ Brown as well. He's had an awesome season. Oh shoot, who else am I? I'm blanking on some other names. I mean, I want to say JJ too, Devontae probably as well, and then Jamar. Am I forgetting anybody? 5. Yeah, am I forgetting anybody? Is anybody else going off this season? Jalen Waddle honestly could have, huh?
CeeDee Lamb has had a
CD could probably be thrown in there. Okay, he's definitely a top 10 wide receiver.
Definitely
top 10.
Yeah, top 10 is reasonable.
He's not even out.
You get those Stephon Diggs in there still.
Diggsy too. Okay, maybe I got a little generous. It's Christmas time. Come on. Just wanted to fill a stocking and be cheerful and stuff like that.
I was just curious as to what your list would look like because it was a very lofty statement. That's all.
It was.
I love the takes. Don't get me wrong. I was just very curious.
Swing big. Yeah. Swing big. Go for gold. Always bet the over, right? But yes, that's the end of my Christmas cheer, though. I am predicting the Vikings do lose on Christmas Eve at home to the Detroit Lions, 26-23. Hope I'm wrong, but unfortunately I've picked against this club a few times now this season, and it's kind of worked in my favor. But here's a weird thing. They could probably win in Detroit, though. Even though I'm picking them to lose here at home, my original prediction when we did this predictions was for the Vikings to win in Detroit. So I might or might not hold on to that one. You'll have to find out in a couple weeks when you tune into the SKOR North Taxi Squad. So anyway, AJ and Artis picking the Vikings to win. AJ 24-20, Artis 21-16. I had the Vikings losing to the Lions 26-23. But you know who ain't losing? Because they went a perfect, I believe, 3-0 this week? Those Minnesota Timberwolves. They just keep getting it done. Big win against the Dallas Mavericks. Got it done at home against the Pacers. And then they overcame some heat culture down in Miami as well, which can I talk about that for just a second? Did you guys see that Miami's now got heat culture just right smack dab on the middle of their court now? Yeah. Just the words heat culture.
More like Jimmy Butler, am I right? Butler with 2 T's. Got him.
But anyway, look, my whole impressions of heat culture up to this point in my life have been, it's not a very braggadocious thing. A lot of the media talks about that. They're a spunky, hard-nosed team that grinds and is just very well run. But to display heat culture right on your court, I think is just not what heat culture really is.
I agree with that.
Especially because Timberwolves culture is better anyway. How? Baby, how? They're rolling, Artis and AJ. They are rolling.
No, they're playing great. But...
go
ahead, AJ. Go ahead.
All right, really quick. I just want to take a quick survey. We talked about Wolves culture. We've got the Heat culture. How about the Lakers culture? Hang a banner for the.
I wasn't going to mention that.
What do we think? What do we think here, ladies and gentlemen? The Lakers.
You're better than that, Artis. Your team is better than that. You didn't leave Minneapolis to hang those banners, buddy.
Now, I could look the other way if it was the Wolves or a team that also not won anything. But the Lakers?
I love how they left a ton of room on the banner too, so they could fill more years in. So clearly they don't want to make it be a big deal, but like you made it a big deal.
The only way it doesn't look crazy is if we look back 15 years from now and the in-season tournament is just elevating every year, and it's something that we look forward to, and like they really start, adding like that to your resume. Like there are in-season tournament champions. You know what I mean? Like unless it becomes, which I believe LeBron ultimately, in a way, not trying to really benefit himself, but in a way is trying to help legitimize that, tournament, because now I can see other players going hard to win it, because if LeBron's going to go hard to win it, why wouldn't you go hard to win it? Especially for the younger teams and players. But as a Laker fan, yeah.
You had a ceremony and everything, too. You didn't even hang it quietly. You guys had a whole grand reveal and had everybody Phil Staples or whatever you call it now. It was very emotional.
And then they went like 1-3 over their next 4.
Do you think anybody cried at that ceremony? Like built an emotional, like got to that emotional level where this means so much to me?
I hope not.
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope it was you. I hope you went all the way to LA just to see that.
Never. The Wolves.
Hey, the Wolves.
The Wolves are continuing to play great basketball. I think they've got like a 3-game lead, or at least a 2.5 game lead on the rest of the Western Conference. Yeah. It's crazy to watch, man. Yep. It's like every other night somebody is stepping up. We got the night against the Mavs where Anthony Edwards is having an off night. But again, I think I've brought this up before. His game is becoming more than just offense and defense. His game, let me rephrase, his game is becoming more than just, scoring. A lot of his game now is playmaking too. So even if he doesn't have it going, I mean, he ended this game with 11 assists on the night, just getting guys open, finding guys, because the defense is game planning to stop him. You know what I mean? You obviously worry about Cat. You worry about Naz Reid, who's a monster. Ooh-wee. You're worrying about other players on the team, but for the most part, guys are game planning to stop Anthony Edwards. He knows that. So he knows if he misses his first couple shots, I trust my teammates enough to know that if teams collapse on me, I can make the play. I can throw the backdoor pass. I can find, Mike Conley on the perimeter. I could throw a lob to Rudy or to Cat. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and I think the more he masters that game, the better off they'll be. You got the game against the Pacers where, just a show from Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. They play like that together, 40 and 12 from Cat, and 37 from Ant? Mm-hmm. If they play like that, that's tough. That's lights out. That's lights out for anybody that they go up against. They really turned it up. In the second half? Because they was kind of, I won't say it's kind of like the days of school in the first half, but in the second half they just turned it up. Especially in that third quarter, they just took that game over and won. And then the game against the Heat coacher Anthony Edwards closed y'all out in the fourth. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like turn around, fade off the glass.
I was just about to bring up that play, dude. And it's that made me so happy because it was not an out of control play whatsoever. You see so many young NBA players especially when they do fadeaways. They think they've been practicing that at the yard and stuff like that, and they can do it in an NBA game. But no, Ant did that with such precision. Off the glass, you can tell he practiced that shot over and over again in practice and then just totally put the nail in the coffin on Heat culture. It was just chef's kiss. He is growing before our eyes, man. My prediction of what did I say? Second All-NBA this season? That might still be lofty. I understand.
Maybe not,
I don't know. I just said the whole stuff about Amon Ra. You know what I mean? I can't guarantee anything these days. But it's just I think he's definitely in play for third NBA team right now. And if Rudy's defensive presence keeps being this big of a factor this season beyond just the defensive player of the year consideration, maybe Rudy's name would even be mentioned in all NBA circles, which is just so wild to think about. We didn't think that this would even necessarily be a conversation when he was traded to the Timberwolves. And we definitely didn't think it was, after last year, we definitely did not think this was possible. Yeah. And yet here we are. And Cat is also playing out of his mind too. Jaden McDaniels is back. This thing is humming. And we mentioned it. This is now a very tough stretch of their schedule. They're actually playing the Sixers right now. I think they're only down by 4 points or something right now. I can't see the score right now. Actually, no, they're winning the ball game now. They're up 67-66 right now. And so they are just biting right into this part of the schedule that we talked about. And they are just They're just doing exactly what a championship level team does, and they still have the best record in the NBA right now at 20-5.
I think now I'm looking really far ahead. But come playoff time, if they keep this up, and I say they finish 1 or 2, it's going to get very interesting because the pressure is going to be on those guys.
Okay.
Now, you can't go home in the first round. I'd argue you can't go home in the second round.
You get home court, you cannot do that.
You got to at least get to the Western Conference Finals. So that's not only pressure on Ant, that's not only pressure on Cat and Nas Reed and Rudy Gobert, and that's not only pressure on them, but most importantly, Chris Finch, the head coach. Mm-hmm. And again, I give him so much credit now for how he has coached this basketball team. They clearly play for him in ways that they just didn't play for him last year for whatever reason. So he's coaching his butt off right now. He seems very stoic, very, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're winning. Yep. That was a great game. Let's move on to the next. He's very calm, cool, collected right now. But in the postseason, I need to see him come through, give guys opportunities, better opportunities to put the ball in the hole, have better calls coming out of timeouts, and most importantly, clock management and stopping the quote-unquote bleeding, as they say. When teams go on a run, you are not Phil Jackson, and this is not the Lakers from the 2000s, okay? This is the Timberwolves, still young, developing, and growing. When other teams are going on a run, call the necessary timeout. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to playoff basketball when teams now have a full series, the game plan for them. But as of right now, I don't see anybody stopping these guys before they get to the conference finals, and it's very early. Yeah. We're 25 games in.
Of course.
You got, 60 something games left. Yeah. I get that. But just speaking, in broad here, the way they're playing, I don't, if they continue to play defense like this, I can't see a fall off anytime soon. Like, they just went on a 10-game lose. You know what I mean? Like, because the effort is there and the star power is there, right? So if they continue to play like this and they finish top 2, Western Conference Finals, and nothing else should be accepted out of this ball club.
Absolutely. And I'm all for that. Feel that pressure, guys. Get to that point, embrace it, and do something about it, too. It's just so weird that have these conversations about the Timberwolves still. I think at the beginning of the season, I always just kind of expected them to all right, they're starting off really hot, but they'll trail off at least a little bit, still compete in the West. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. We're playing good teams, and we're taking down Heat culture one brick at a time. You know what I mean? It's just so much fun to watch, just like this Minnesota Wild team as well, after just one of the most fun games that we will see all season long out in Boston between the Bruins and the Wild. A thrilling 4-3, was that the final? Right, AJ? 4-3 overtime winner for Minnesota. And it was just a display of Marc-Andre Fleury's abilities as a Hall of Famer. Kirill Kaprizov, which is that beautiful one-time or overtime goal. Then he is now the franchise all-time leader in overtime goals as well. The Wild climbing up those standings a little bit more. They're only 4 points behind Arizona in that wild card, and they went 3-1 this week if you include those 2 shootout victories between the Flames and the Canucks. But things are looking a little better here, AJ, with the Wild recently, and it helps a lot that Matt Boldy is just out of his mind right now.
Yeah, Matt Boldy's been awesome. Brock Faber, I think, has been the real story, though, stepping up here recently. Jared Spurgeon out, Jonas Brodin out for still a couple more weeks at least. I know he had a cast on, and at the time of the initial injury, getting hit from behind by Vander Kane. 4 to 6 was like the original thing that kind of got leaked out, so we still have quite a bit of time until he gets back. But in that meantime, 21-year-old rookie Brock Faber has been putting up anywhere between 25 and essentially 30-something minutes a night, which is unheard of for a rookie.
The very Suter-like. Wow.
And the thing about that is, it's not that he's just playing that, but he's starring for all 30 of those minutes. He's playing over half of the game a lot of the times recently, and he is being a calming presence on the blue line. He's moving the puck well. He's now on the top unit for both the power play and the penalty kill, so he's given even more responsibility. He was out there last night for the game-winning goal against the Bruins. He's kind of doing it at both ends of the ice as well. He's showing off that offensive talent that he has. He's kind of been looked at as this defensive defenseman, and a lot in part due to his time with Minnesota, especially the last season before making the jump to the NHL. He didn't get in Bob Motzko's power play unit there for whatever reason, despite, in my opinion, that's like the specific build that Bob Motzko wants for the defenseman, given my 3 years covering him at St. Cloud State before his move to the U. Brock Faber has been just a tremendous player, not just for the Wild, but for I think the like college hockey, to show that there are some of these guys that are playing hockey right now in the U.S. college system that can make that jump instantaneously to the NHL. He showed up last season in the playoffs and showed a lot of promise, and people were thinking, okay, he just got done playing for a national championship. It's not like he was sitting around on the couch or whatever.
Nope.
This season, I think the bar was set relatively high, and he broke that ceiling through. So he's been just a rock star. Should be very much in consideration for the Calder Trophy Award. I think it'll inevitably go to Connor Bedard. For everybody who out there is unaware, Calder Trophy is essentially the Rookie of the Year for the NHL. Do I think he'll get nods for the Norris Trophy, aka Best Defenseman? No. Should he be in consideration as of this moment right now? Maybe. I don't think.
Wow, that's actually crazy.
I don't think.
But he's playing that good.
That might be bias, but like that's because I'm watching him every single game, and what he's showing out there is this. Like if he was playing, let me tell you, if he was playing in Toronto for the Maple Leafs right now, he absolutely would. This is for some reason a thing in the, like for instance, Jonas Brodin when he's healthy should also be getting the same treatment and conversation.
Yeah,
it's just frankly playing in Minnesota. I know, given the state of hockey and everything, it's still Minnesota. Similar to kind of a lot of Timberwolves fans, for instance, huge on Ant. Excuse me. If he was playing with the Lakers, if he was playing with the Celtics, he'd be getting that sort of treatment. He's just not. So I think this has been more of a coming out party this season for him, and I think this is a coming out party for Brock Faber right now. He's been tremendous while the Wild have been very shorthanded on the back end of things. And the split that they had on this road trip out east, I thought that if they were going to lose one, it would be yesterday in Boston against a really good Bruins team and then pick up the win against the Penguins. They flipped it. So that I think Declan said it on today's Judd's Hockey Show. You're going to look back if this team really catches fire, eventually does make it to a playoffs. Maybe they look like they're going to make a run, but you're going to look back and yesterday, that might be the turning point of the season, because that was a win that was, they faced adversity at times. They had their stars kind of finally come through. Kirill with 2 goals. And he's been looking a lot more encouraging. Yes. We know that he's been kind of battling, maybe not being 100% here to start the year after kind of getting folded up on in Winnipeg last season. A lot of encouraging stuff on this 2-game stint where in Pittsburgh, he was literally walking around guys, like just beautiful moves that made me have to rewind the TV just to watch it again. It didn't end up in a goal, but it's just like, how is he doing that? And then last night he was doing some Kirill-esque things that we had grown used to last season that we haven't really seen as much right now. You know, the power strides circling the zone and the offensive zone to kind of draw defenders out of places. The very elite skill moves that, you know, deking in a phone booth, stick handling a phone booth. You're seeing that a little bit more often now. So hopefully things continue to trend in the right the right way, keeps progressing in the right direction, and he's back to 100%. This team gets healthy and back to 100% in general. And I think when that time finally comes, if it ever does, we're going to see some really good hockey. But for right now, they're hanging with some really good teams. It seems like when they're losing, they're getting in their own way, which is frustrating. A lot of penalties. That's the biggest thing right now. I think is stop going to the penalty box for the love of God.
And giving up shorthanded goals like you did against the Flames. That was really frustrating too in the third period. That was, I don't know what they were doing. But yeah, I mean, this is also what happens when your goaltending stabilizes too. It looked really rough for Gustafsson and Fleury at the beginning of the season, and it's been so much better lately. I was kind of surprised that Fleury didn't get the start in Pittsburgh because it might potentially be his last chance to play against the Penguins, and obviously he's an all-time Pittsburgh Penguin great, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer, so I was kind of surprised to see Gustafsson out there, but obviously, I mean, we got that show in Beantown. I mean, that was, sure, he gave up a few goals, yes, and so maybe on the stat sheet, it doesn't look like Fleury did a whole lot, but just what he was able to do, especially in that second period when Boston was just barraging them, just kept the Wild in the game. And it is ultimately, even if Hall of Fame players are over the hump when they get to a certain age, every now and then they still just show that flash that just reminds you of just how good these players were, especially in their primes. And that was an example of what we got from Fleury last night. But yeah, if Kaprizov starts really playing like we all know Kirill Kaprizov can play, and last night was honestly probably his best game of the season, the Wild might actually be able to salvage what was honestly one of the worst starts to any season that they have ever had. And we all knew this wasn't a bad hockey team. It's been a playoff team for several years now. They aren't a bottom feeder like some of these other teams are, like, not to pick on the Ducks or the Sharks or the Senators who just fired their head coach too. Things have stabilized a little bit. Now, maybe you can make the argument, maybe was this going to happen inevitably and maybe we didn't need to fire Dean Evison? I don't really know about that. But still, no matter what, you can't really argue that since that moment, the Wild have played a whole lot better, and John Hines has implemented at least some schemes and some line changes that are yielding pretty decent results for the Wild, but ultimately it is the goaltending that has helped them a ton. Gustafsson's been better, and Fleury has been much better. Gentlemen, we need to get out of here. We're pushing up against the clock right now. Any final thoughts before we send our lovely listeners off to the holidays with their families and their friends?
Yes. I am tired of, and I hate to say this because I like him as a football player. I'm tired of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
You got the whole...
Everybody fell for it.
Darkness retreat in the offseason. And I'm one who... I want to see what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. He's one of the best players in the league. Is he going to go here? Is he going to go there? Is he going to stay with the Packers? Oh, my gosh. Then he goes to the Jets. Oh, man, the Jets could be Super Bowl contenders. Oh, snap. Then he goes out there, first possession of the game, tears his Achilles. Dang, well, down goes Aaron Rodgers. I guess we'll got to wait till next season. And then the Jets get to winning some games. Oh, wait a minute. Aaron Rodgers is back on Pat McAfee. So, I might come back sooner than expected. Expect me to, give me all the doubts and everything you got. I might come back a lot sooner than you think. Then out of nowhere, the Jets keep on winning games. Then they drop a bunch of games. All of a sudden, 21-day practice window opens. Aaron Rodgers is practicing. Oh, my gosh, he's walking. Oh, my gosh, he's stepping back, throwing passes accurate from the pocket. This is crazy. Oh, the Jets lose a couple more games. Then out of nowhere, if I was 100%, I'd push the plays. So I'm probably going to be out for the rest of the season. I mean, we knew that. You should have just
everybody fell for it.
Everyone
fell for it.
Just think that instead of thinking you was about to make some type of crazy, miraculous comeback that make history. But lo and behold, an Achilles injury is actually a season-ending injury.
Yeah.
Wow.
What? It doesn't matter what kind. It doesn't matter if you did a special new way of doing it too. You're still going to be out the whole time. The man is a master marketer. He knows how to keep himself in the conversations of regular people, especially when he is out of the spotlight. Honestly, there's going to be a college course taught on just Aaron Rodgers and how he's managed his own personal image throughout his NFL career. It is fascinating how he gets people to care about him when he is irrelevant.
I just want to see him play. That's it.
I know. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Especially not in the NFC.
Well, and especially because there were so many primetime Jets games scheduled this year that have been just absolutely trash because they were expecting Rodgers to be in and stuff like that. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers likes people talking about him. I think we know that for sure. AJ, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, on top of that, now the Jets have him on the roster, despite knowing that he can't play.
Active roster, so that he can keep practicing.
How about, hear me out, instead of the guy that's no doubt going into the Hall of Fame, who plays in the most luxurious position in all of the NFL, who gets paid the most. Maybe he doesn't need to be on the active roster. Maybe the guy that's been working his butt off, who exudes Jets culture, who is a borderline practice squad / active roster guy, maybe that's the guy that you give the opportunity to. That's the guy who gets the game check, who's going to cost you, $100K a game, who actually needs it. Not this guy who wants to go sit in the dark for 7 days. Not the guy that lied about science to America. You don't have this magic Achilles. You are not coming. I'm not a doctor. And I made the same point to Judd Zolgad the other day on a JHS because we were talking about injury stuff. I'm not a doctor. I have access to WebMD like an average American. But let me tell you, I am smart enough to know that if you tear your Achilles, you are out for the season. It doesn't matter if you tore it week 1, snap 1, week 17, snap 17. Doesn't matter. You are done, gone, finished for the year. You are not this. You're telling me you have this cure, this magical procedure, this magical recovery program, and you're hiding it from the world? That's a Nobel Prize for a guy for a guy that loves to be talked about.
Why are you playing football, bud?
Get in the lab, buddy.
He got me. He got me, y'all. He got me.
You really thought he was going to come back?
I thought it was a chance.
I thought he was full of it.
Bro, I thought he was maybe.
I've seen this man do press conferences for 15 years as a Vikings fan. He's full of it. He's just full of it. I wish I could say the word I want to, but he's just full of it.
The next time I see this guy, not a scientist, not a learned doctor,
normal dude.
Guy. The next time he's on television, if I hear him talking in my ear holes about anything regarding medicine, health, recovery, surgery, and if I turn to look and he's not wearing a freaking lab coat with a stethoscope around his neck, I want him in jail. This is getting out of hand. Who is the Surgeon General? Get this man on a watch list. I'm so sick of him just throwing out
stuff.
That's like me having a cold and like, hey, just so you know, everybody, if you burn an onion and you sprinkle it on top of like chicken noodle soup, that actually makes it go away just like that. I've been hiding it all this time. I'll be back in the office tomorrow. I got a cold. I'm glad we could all come together for the holidays for a rant about Aaron Rodgers. Oh,
yes.
Just warms my heart.
Anytime he comes on, I know most of the time he comes on television now, I just take my remote control, go mute, and that's enough of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I don't have anything more to add to that. He is an absolute clown. But again, it's fascinating how he stays in the conversation at all times. It's a masterclass of manipulation and just having a big ego. All right. That'll do it for Taxi Squad, everybody. SKOR North Taxi Squad. That is, let's see. I don't think I said this at the beginning of the show because I was really distracted by my tush push introduction. You can find us on skornorth.com, SKOR North mobile app, Apple, Spotify, and if you want to see our lovely faces, the SKOR North YouTube channel is where you can check that out. My name is Jason Stormer. That's Artis Woods. That's AJ Fredrickson. We hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Have a wonderful time with your friends and family. And don't worry, Taxi Squad will be back next week to break down whatever happens on Christmas Eve between the Lions and the Vikings. And then we'll also preview Sunday Night Football on New Year's Eve between the Vikings and the Packers. I had to think about who we were playing there for a second. It's the Packers, the hated Packers. All right, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everyone. We will talk to you next time on the SKOR North Taxi Squad. Take care, bye-bye, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.